All right, we are back again. Let's talk about our trip from Dallas to Phoenix. What would have been a 16-hour trip if we would have just hightailed it from one end to the other. We turned it into 5 days. So um, I don't know. I don't know if I recommend that, but we sure did see a lot of stuff. So um, that was pretty cool. I've been posting pictures of some of these parks that we went to. Um, I'll I'll have some more on this, but it's quite amazing. The the country we live in is diverse in scenery and geography or geology, I guess. These formations are vast and different and varied, and it's breathtaking that God can paint these pictures and that and we don't seek them out. So it's funny that I've pretty well, and my family too, have pretty well lived in a very small section of the country, and you know, we grew up in East or West Tennessee. We lived in on the East Coast of Florida, and we've been all over Florida and up the East Coast to South Carolina, North Carolina. But really, as far north as we've been is like Illinois. The southern part of Illinois I've driven to. I've flown to Michigan, but it's just for a short amount of time. And as far west as Kansas City, as far as I've driven, I've been, I've flown to Dallas, I've flown to Des Moines, Iowa, but you're not experiencing the landscape that way. So when we get out west, Dallas looks very somewhat similar to West Tennessee. It's kind of rolling hills ish. It's very green and lush. It's hot and it's humid, just like Tennessee. It's a little hotter probably, but it's similar enough. It's not different. So when we left Dallas, it was green and lush, and it was like dusk. We left after work on a Friday, um, and we drove to Fort Stockton, Texas, which is Southwest Texas. And so when we left, it was light outside, and it was green and lush. And when we got to our hotel, it was dark, and it had been dark for hours, and we didn't actually see any of the changes. So the next morning when we woke up, and it was all brown and desert and dry, we were shocked, absolutely shocked, in a good way. Like we knew what we were heading into, just we weren't prepared, and so when you can kind of see it gradually change, it's one thing, but when it's stark, it was cool. So we woke up the next morning, it was desert, and we drove into Big Bend, which if you've never had the opportunity to go to Big Bend, I highly recommend it. It's one of the most beautiful parks that we've encountered. Still, there's hiking vistas and um, just absolutely amazing views and um, lots of history there. They found lots of dinosaurs, excavated dinosaur bones and the whole 9 yards, and it's pretty awesome. We really enjoyed it. So if we, I wish we would have had more time there because we didn't get to experience all of it. We would have went down to the Rio Grande and the hot springs and things of that nature. So we'll definitely be back to Big Bend. You definitely need 3 or 4 days in Big Bend to experience it fully. But we didn't. We had half a day. So because we were going from Fort Stockton down to Big Bend, and then from Big Bend up to Carlsbad, where our next night stay was in Carlsbad. So we did Big Bend all day long and explored as much as we could. As the park was closing, we started heading out to Carlsbad. And so we got to Carlsbad again in the dark. And so we get there. We had some, as with everything, just kind of got to roll with the punches. But we had our trip booked one way, and then at the last minute we changed it. And so when I changed it, the prices went way up. And so I actually reconfigured our trip, and we ended up staying at this little place called the Stevens Inn, which was a Howard Johnson, acquisition. But apparently, it's been a fixture in Carlsbad since the 70s, and it was a really nice motel back in the 70s. Motel, not a hotel. Exterior entry, and it is still really nice today, which is weird. We generally don't stay in motels. In fact, this was the first one we've stayed in probably it would have been before Maddie was born. So it looked nice enough online, so we booked it, and I enjoyed it. It was great. I highly recommend, if you go to Carlsbad Caverns, stay at the Stevens Inn. It was nice. It was safe. The rooms were clean and had a little bar and restaurant attached to it, and it had a breakfast buffet every morning, and it was good. It was, better than any roadside, business class hotel that we stay in. So we enjoyed the heck out of our stay. I'm not going to mention many hotels because they're generally just, places to stop. But this one was a nice surprise. So first day in Carlsbad, we went to the Carlsbad Caverns, and Carlsbad Caverns are amazing. The drive out there was cool, and we got to see these goats that blend in with the surroundings, and they're just living on the side of this mountain in the desert. It's incredible. We got a bunch of pictures of those. Maddie was super excited about that. And then we went into the caverns. The caverns is about 1.25 miles walk down, and it's at a 20% grade the whole way down. So you're walking 1.25 miles downhill, 20% grade, and it was intense. And then when you get down to the bottom, it's 1.25 mile loop, but it's fairly flat. So you got 2.5 miles total walking. Half of it's downhill, or the other half's flat. And then we took the elevator back up because, 1.25 miles uphill, 20% grade didn't sound like fun. So we did take the elevator up. You can take it down. I don't recommend that because going down it's pretty gorgeous, and it's part of the fun. So definitely take the trip down, but feel free to take the elevator up. The other thing I was intrigued with was that they had bathrooms in the caverns, which were like 800 feet below ground. So I made everybody use the bathroom before we went up. But anyways, that was just a weird Grayling thing. So Carlsbad Caverns were gorgeous. And Louis we kenneled him at the park, and that was awesome because we just got to pick him up and we hit the road. So we left there and we went to the Guadalupe Mountains, which was just about 30 minutes past Carlsbad Caverns. Guadalupe Mountains, that's where El Capitan is at, and it's a mountain cliff that's really cool. There's not a lot to do with kids there. It is a hiking park. There are some pictures that you can get, some views from the road and from the visitor center, but and I suggest getting them. But there's not like a 1 mile hike you can do with the kids. They're all serious hikes. So we didn't partake in any of those. We got our pictures, we got our junior ranger badge, and we went back to the hotel. So stayed there. We ate at this little place, little Mexican place. I had the Al Pastor Christmas burrito, and it was to die for. And some of the best Mexican food we've probably ever had. And then they had these homemade popsicles, and they were awesome. And Maddie got one that was smothered in chamoy and tahini, and she loved it. It was great. So anytime you can put chamoy and tahini on something, she's about it. So we left there, and we drove to White Sands National Monument right outside of Alamogordo, New Mexico. And it's cool. It's totally dog friendly. And we spent the day sledding and taking pictures and hiking in this sand that's it's not like sand at the beach. It's made out of gypsum and not sand. So it's a totally different feel. It dries you out. Like it is unbelievable. And that wind was blowing 30 miles an hour. And when it picked up sand and it'd blow it in the back of your leg, it just hurt like hell. But it was a lot of fun. We had a big time. Sledding was absolute hoot. Bring your big boy pants because running up and down that hill sucks, because it's just a slushy, sandy mess. But it's pretty. So it's absolutely snow powder white, and this sand is made out of gypsum, the same stuff they make sheetrock out of. So if you've ever drilled a hole into sheetrock, you know kind of what the consistency is. But this place is huge, totally dog friendly. Louis loved it, had a big time. I don't know what else to say. It was gorgeous. Driving to White Sands, we passed through this place called Cloudcroft, and when we were in the mountains or in the desert, it was about 102 when we left Carlsbad. When we got to Cloudcroft, it was like 72. It was absolutely crisp mountain air in the Lincoln National Forest. It was gorgeous. We rode with the windows down and had a big time. And we could actually see what we thought were clouds in the distance. But what it was we were seeing the reflection of light from White Sands National Monument. It's really cool. I wish we would have gotten a picture of that, but we thought it was clouds, and we thought it was really cool. But as we approached it, we realized that, oh no, this is awesome. So White Sands was cool. We ate at this little place called Heidi Ho, which is an old school drive-in. Had a couple burgers and cheese and French fries, cheeseburgers and French fries, and then we cooked it on to Las Cruces, New Mexico. So we stayed at Las Cruces. We got there late, left early. I have no idea what is even in Las Cruces other than the hotel that we were at, because that's how long we were there. We were there for about 10 hours. We got there, slept, and then we hightailed it out of there in the morning. So I'm no expert there. But so the next day we got up and we were going to finish our leg to Arizona, or to Phoenix. And we had initially planned to not make any stops. We were just going to jam out the last 4 or 5 hours, and then we were here. But I am impulsive and I have ADD, so we didn't do that. So first brown sign that we passed was Fort Bowie, and I about had a wreck trying to get to it. So I saw it and I thought about it and I thought about it, and then at the last minute I yanked it off the interstate, and there we were going. And then we rode around in the middle of nowhere on dirt roads for an extraordinarily long amount of time trying to get there. And when we finally did, it was closed, of course. And so we parked the car down the hill, and I hiked up the hill to the visitor center and got some really cool pictures. The place was cool. It was a nice stop. Get out, stretch your legs, do a little hiking, take some pictures, whole 9 yards. And then when I got to the visitor center, we saw that all their stamps and stuff were out. So, everybody got out and went up to the visitor center at that point. So it was pretty cool. Pretty cool little stop for everybody to get out for a minute. The trail was cool. History was kind of cool because all the signs were outside. It was a cool spot. It was a good spot to stop. It wasn't that far. It was about 15, 20 minutes from the interstate if you know where you're going. I didn't the first time. I knew how to get back to the interstate after that, but I digress. So got back on the interstate, and then we were heading to Tucson. Started hit a little traffic, so we yanked it off the interstate again and went to a place called Saguaro National Park. And saguaro refers to a type of cactus, and these cacti, cacti. These cacti are 70 some odd feet tall. Some of them, 75 feet tall. They're huge. And they grow straight up and down for the first 75 years of their life. And then they get their arms. So their first arm is when they're 75. And, there were some out there that were 175, 200 years old. They had one that was about 250 years old, but he just died. So it's pretty cool. They're the cactus there, you see, and their arms are up, and it's kind of the quintessential cacti of the West. And they're really only found in the Sonoran Desert, which is, like just a hair above Phoenix south. It's actually a very small portion of the West is Sonoran Desert, has the saguaro cactus. But anyways, it was gorgeous. It was awesome. We did it was an 8-mile drive-through loop, and we did a little half-mile hike, a little short hike for the kids to get out and kind of see some stuff. We saw some washes and we did find a horned lizard while we were out. And so I got some pictures of him. And then we kind of got in the truck and went back, and we did some hiking here and there, a little short quarter mile here, quarter mile there kind of thing, and hiked and jumped on top of these rocks that are called javelina rocks, and we saw some javelina. And then the last stop we made there was we went to this little place where there's a crested saguaro. There's only about 6 of them out there, and but this one was easy to get to. So we went out and we got a picture of this crested saguaro, and it was kind of cool. It was neat to see the difference between the different subspecies of this cactus. So did that, and then we finished our trip to Phoenix, got in the truck, and here we were, and the house was awesome. So that gets us caught up pretty much. I'll make another couple of videos here and get you caught up to today, but that gets us caught up to Phoenix. So till next time.